G'day everyone, today a tool color that I don't do all that often. It is an AEG. If you're in the States, that will of course be a RIDGID. Exact same tools, different parts of the world. This, as you can see, is a pair of Secateurs, 18 volt Secateurs, or Pruners if you want to be a little less French. If you've been following my channel for a while, you may have seen a couple of videos on these things before. A lot of you really like them, and I have to say I am also one of those people. This tool, or these type of tools, these pruning tools, I use more than just about any other tool. Maybe not more, but more frequently. I use one of these almost every day to collect branches for parrots and other birds. And they're super cool and super handy and can be a little bit nasty looking as well. People ask me to do different brands of these pruners all the time, and so when AEG said to me, would you like to try one, we'll send you one, I said sure, why not. That's why you saw that thing up in the top corner. So let's take a look at what it does. First up, how heavy is it? Let's take a wee look-see. In metric, it is 978 grams with a 6 amp hour force battery, the big old-fashioned one. What do we got with that? We've got just under 1800 grams or 1.8 kgs. So that's quite heavy to hold in your hand all day if you're using it a lot, or if you're a bit weak in the wrist, because these things are great for elderly and anyone who's got, say, carpal tunnel and other wrist or arm injuries, hand injuries, because they're just so dead easy to operate. There's no having to force things down with your own hand and do damage to yourself or more damage to an existing injury. They also allow you to quickly and easily get into really tight spaces, like if you're cutting bamboo, for instance, which is something I use it for all the time and one of the reasons why I buy these things. Let me just turn off the weird lighting because it's kind of freaking me out a bit. Right, that's better. Okay, features wise, there's not a lot to it. To turn it on, there's no buttons or anything. Just hold your finger on the trigger, 3 seconds, and you'll be good to go. You know when it's on because she opens up. To turn it back off, 1, 2, 3. There we go. Here's the control panel. This is where your lights will pop up, so it'll go green in a moment. Telling you it's on. If this flashes red twice, you're overloading the tool a bit. You know, you're probably cutting something a bit big or a bit hard. If it flashes 3 times, it's overloaded temperature-wise. You know, she's gotten a bit hot and you'll need to let it cool down for half an hour or so. And if it flashes 5 times, it means you have done that 5,000 times, and it'll flash 5 times there just to let you know to check the blade, see if it needs sharpening, see if it needs replacing, anything like that. And that's about all there is to it. If you leave it for 30 seconds, which we'll do right now, the tool will time out. So if the blade's open like that, it will stay open. There we go, it's just cut out. So you don't really want to leave it open like that. So if it stays open, turn it back on again, hold the trigger, 3 seconds, go like that. Hold it for 3 seconds, it'll turn off with the blades closed. That's how you should store it, like that. You don't want it sticking out in too many different places, too many scary things to fall on if you put this anywhere. Speaking of that, when you put this thing down, lay it down. Don't stand it like that, because if you trip and fall on that, ouchie, wotchie. You may have also noticed through all of that that it does have a light on the front as well. So you can go pruning in the dark. You want to sneak over and take off something that your neighbours have hanging over the fence. There we go. Quick and easy, and you can see what you're doing. Every now and again, try and whack a bit of oil in here. That ball needs to be depressed. Put some light oil in there, nothing too thick. You don't want motor oil type thickness or something. Something light, sewing machine oil, something very, very thin to get in there. Do that every now and again, and this thing should hopefully keep you chopping branches and the like for many years to come. Now, you can probably see I have used this. I haven't done a lot of cutting with it yet. Just tried it out. Needed to trim something the other day, so I quickly grabbed this to give it a go, and it worked fine. It's rated for cutting softwood at 30mm and hardwood at 25mm. And model number wise, in this part of the world, it's the ALP 18. and the RIDGID model number is just here. Now before I go out and put it through its paces and see what it can and cannot do and overload it a few times and all that stuff I like to do, let's just see if I can get into this packaging here, because I want these slightly smaller batteries on this thing, because this battery is a little bit cumbersome for such a small tool. But these ones are still 6 amp hour, but they're a little bit smaller. So let's see if it'll cut into one of these awful plastic bulletproof things. Right, let's go. Oh, look at that, no problem at all. Now, if you see it stopping there, if you hold your finger on the trigger after you do the cut, it stays closed. So it doesn't automatically open once it's made the full cut. It might open again if it feels too much resistance. So if you pull the trigger and it jams on something, it will automatically open up again. I'm in. I am in. Now these newly designed AEG batteries are significantly smaller than this old one here. I first looked at them and I thought it looks like this one's 18650s and this one's 21700 cells, but I just looked it up on AEG's website and they're saying that this is 23% smaller and 10% lighter than this, so that's good because this is a pretty big cumbersome battery, but with no loss of power or runtime. So here's hoping. Anyway, I'll chuck them on the charger now, get them all charged up, and then we'll head out and start chopping everything up in the garden. This is a Bismarckia nobilis palm. It's pretty tough. They even cut through the leaflets all right. I use pruners like this a lot to cut bamboo. Fresh bamboo. Not so fresh bamboo. Dried up old bamboo. Does it all. Let's take a look at how well it does pruning really fine stuff. Oh, cut that nice and easy. That's only about 3 millimeters in diameter. Nice and quick and easy. Here's some fairly soft stuff at about the maximum sort of diameter. Let's take it up a notch. I've got some pine dowel here. It's 3/4 inch or 19 millimeters. No problem at all. What about this? 12 millimeters by 42 millimeters, or 1/2 inch by whatever 42 millimeters is in inches. So basically it's going to be a little bit too long for the blade by the looks, but let's see what happens here. It's pretty cool. What about 20 mil square Vitex hardwood? So that's taking up a fair chunk of the blade area. How's it going to do? Let's get in a bit closer for this one. Is it going to work? Whoa, look at that. Wow. Almost leaving a nice smooth cut on that too. Well, that's probably about as hard as I'm ever going to cut with this thing. This is the tool I've been using for the past year or two. And it's just struggling with that. It slows down quite a bit. It's having a bit of trouble getting through. Let's try the same thing with the AEG. So the AEG is definitely stronger, and that first tool I showed you then was actually rated for more than this one is. This is 30 millimeters, the other one was 40 millimeters. Those of you who have been with the channel a while may remember this. This was the first one of these style pruners that I got quite some time ago now. As you can see, it is meticulously looked after. But she still goes after all these years. You remember how this one works? There we go. She's a bit slower than the AEG one. but how does it cut? Struggling a bit there. Oh. Yeah, we've reached our diameter max there. So she doesn't quite have the oomph to get through a dry old branch like that. Let's see how the others do. KebTech one that I reviewed on my other channel, my current daily use one. Okay, it goes through that, no problem. What about when we get up to the thicker stuff here? No, not going to go through there. Let's try the AEG. Diameter wise, we're looking at, that's probably the maximum of the AEG. That's about 30 mil. Here we go. How's it going to do? Place your bets. Is she going to do it? No. Also cuts out. That's what happens. Shows you what happens when it can't do it. Oh, made it. Oh, this is doing better. Yeah, it didn't quite get through then. Bit of a torture test, this. That, but there you can't even get it in the jaws. She's so fat. But this will show what happens when it overloads. So beeps, cuts out, and the blade opens again, so that you can get your branch off. Okay, see, not happy. The green light goes off when it does such a thing. Flash of red there. So, overloading the tool. You shouldn't be pruning something that large in the first place with one of these. This is better suited to perhaps a little mini chainsaw or a little reciprocating saw. But the AEG still having a bit more torque and power than the other two. This one and that very first one I purchased are both 18 volt. And the one I'm currently using is supposedly 25 volt, but I would question that. Now I'm going to show you a few things that AEG might not be too happy about. I'm going to show you what else this thing can cut apart from organic material like branches. So let's take a wee look. As you can see, you can cut through electrical conduit, alkathene pipes, you can cut through plastic water pipes, any soft tubing, hoses. You can even cut through thin-walled steel tube. You can cut butylene pipe, PEF backing rod, electrical cables, telephone cables, all manner of things can be cut through with this tool. But just remember that that is going to shorten the life of your blade and possibly void your warranty. It had no problem cutting through any of these. No good for strapping though, unfortunately. When it comes to the blade, you can give them a sharpen if they get a bit worn. You've got quite a bit of leeway on the blade before you're going to end up too short in the blade department. So you can sharpen them up. You can also, of course, get replacement blades. But I've found the blades last really long if you're, just cutting branches and stuff. I've never sharpened any of the ones I've got. Maybe I should. But they've done really well. So, is it any good? Do I like it? Well, it's more powerful than the other two pruners I have, so it's good in that department, obviously. The things I don't like about it are just the batteries are a bit heavy. It's a bit more cumbersome in this area than the other two that I've got. But you could put a 2 amp hour battery on here and make it a lot lighter, but I don't have one of those to try it out with, I'm afraid. And the other thing I don't like is just the length of time it takes to turn on. And I know 3 seconds doesn't sound like a long time, but it does time out quite quickly. And because it times out quite quickly, it means you have to keep putting your finger on. And it's quite a long time. So I found when I was walking around pruning things that I would just tap it every now and again so that it didn't time out. It's 30 seconds that it times out at, but that 30 seconds rolls around pretty damn fast when you're walking around in the garden. So just tap it every now and again, just so that you don't have that 3 second delay when you go to make a cut and it doesn't work. I'm going to have to put my finger on for 3 seconds. It just feels a bit painful. But it's a good tool. It does the job. Hopefully it lasts the test of time. I will make this my go-to pruner now and see how she goes over the course of however long, the next year or so. I'll leave you with a little bit of advice here at the end. Just remember that these tools are bloody sharp, they're bloody strong, and if your finger gets in the way, it is not going to grow back like a sausage does. If you're interested in seeing more AEG stuff, let me know down in the comments. I do have a few more AEG reviews coming up over the next few weeks, There's one sitting over there that you might have noticed. So if you're into AEG or rigid stuff, let me know down below, and make sure you subscribe, and I will see you on another one next week. Cheers guys. Now that you've watched me play with some tools, you guys can have a go. See you later.